Welcome to the Diversity Scholarship Foundation's Profiles in the Law. This is an ongoing series of conversations that we're having with prominent members of the legal profession. I am your host, Justice Jesse Reyes from the Illinois Appellate Court, 1st District. And today, joining us is Alan Montera, who is the current president of the Filipino American Lawyers Association. Welcome, Alan.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Tell us a little bit about yourself growing up. You're a Chicago product, is that correct?
That is correct. I grew up here on the north side of the city in the Lincoln Square North Center area. I went to grade school at Queen of Angels, a few blocks away from my house.
Okay.
And then I went to high school in Niles at Notre Dame High School for Boys.
Okay, and you are currently an associate at McAndrews, correct?
Correct.
All right, and working in intellectual property?
Correct. Primarily in the field of patents.
All right, but before you went to law school, you took a little bit of a we would say a detour, right?
Detour is one way. One way that I also describe it, I've had at this point about 4 or 5 different careers. After graduating from high school, I went to the Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland. Got my undergrad in mechanical engineering, and then after that, I served in the Navy for 5 years on submarines.
Oh, well, thank you very much for your service. It's greatly appreciated.
Yeah, it's definitely something that I'm proud of, and something that I felt I was able to make a difference and serve the country. So.
Well, you have absolutely have done that, and we want to thank you again for doing that. So submarines. Tell us a little bit about submarines.
Obviously,
and I take it these are nuclear submarines that you run, correct?
Correct. So currently all of the subs in the U.S. fleet are powered by nuclear reactors. The sub I was on was the USS Seawolf, and it's considered a fast attack submarine, so that means it goes out and potentially tries to follow other submarines, goes out, does secret types of missions. That's in comparison with the ballistic missile submarines that actually carry the nuclear bombs as part of the military speak-wise, part of the nuclear triad.
So I don't know if you ever read the book or saw the movie The Red October.
Tom Clancy, that was his breakout novel. He actually had it published at the press at the Naval Academy itself, and it was one of the first fiction works that was actually published at that location. So.
Yeah. That's interesting. So are you still in active duty as a reserve, or?
No, at this point I am completely out of the military. So.
Okay, all right. So after you served your country, being on submarines, then you decided to get into law?
Actually, there were a few more detours after that. I did a couple of years at a steel mill as a maintenance supervisor, and then a few more years using that mechanical engineering degree that I got at the Naval Academy, and working as an engineer itself.
Okay. And then did you decide to go to law school?
Yeah, at that point, about 10 or so years out of my undergrad, I went back to law school. I found out about the intellectual property field, found out that it was a way for me to actually use my technical background, and found out the opportunities that are widely available with someone that has that technical background that goes back to law school. Those are two not commonly paired items, so supply and demand, it's like I said, there's plenty of opportunities out there. So.
Well, it's a definitely a fascinating area of the law. One of our first guests on this program was one of your colleagues, Sharon Wang, and I know part of our discussion was about the the invention of the intermittent windshield wiper. So it was pretty fascinating. You have been, how long have you been with McAndrews?
So I've been with them actually since my first summer after law school. So starting in 2017, and then when I became a full-time lawyer in 2019, I've just stuck around at the firm. Like you mentioned, Sharon's there. There's a number of other diverse attorneys there that have really paved the way at that firm, and it's always just felt like a great fit there.
Yeah. And I want to thank you and your firm, because they have been for a long time a supporter of the Diversity Scholarship Foundation, and we wouldn't be able to do well without the sponsors that we have. And we want to thank you again and your firm for being such a willing partner in our efforts to try to diversify the legal profession.
Yeah, no, they've been really supportive of my endeavors, especially with the Filipino American Lawyers Association. They've been sponsors for various events. They've allowed me to host that organization, as well as I've also hosted an alumni meeting from my time at the Naval Academy there.
Oh, that's great. So. That's great. So you mentioned the Filipino American Lawyers Association. You're the current president.
Right.
Literally just a couple of weeks, right?
Yeah, just under 2 weeks now. So.
Yeah. So tell us, our viewers, a little bit about the Filipino American Lawyers Association.
The Filipino American Lawyers Association, it's obviously a group of predominantly Filipino lawyers, but I think just part of the nature of being Filipino, we're welcoming of all other individuals as well. So there have been other members that have not actually been Filipino, and indeed our vice president has a Chinese background. So, but generally speaking, it's a group that supports other Filipino lawyers as well as the students, and allows us to network with people with similar backgrounds and support each other, provide those networking connections that many of us don't have, because even with the people or the education level of some Filipinos, going into the field of law is not one of those common things. Obviously, a number of Filipinos are known for being in the medicine community, but like I said, law is not that common amongst us Filipinos.
Yeah. No, and I'm an example of being an honorary member of the Judicial Board of the Filipino American Lawyers Association. It's been my pleasure to support the organization for many years. Do a lot of fine work out in the community, and so it's always been my pleasure to be part of that. So tell us a little bit about what your plans are for the upcoming year.
So actually, in a couple of weeks, we have our the National Filipino American Lawyers Association has been doing a FALA event nearly every year to recognize the LGBTQ members of our community, and also raise funds for a specific scholarship for law students that fall into that category as well.
And where is this going to take place at?
So the event itself is online, but I'm actually hosting a watch party at my house.
Oh, nice. Oh, okay. All right.
So I'm hoping to make some pancit, one of the Filipino noodle dishes, and grill up some chicken and some other things. So.
Oh, great. All right. That's fantastic. Well, that's a good way to start off.
Yeah.
Any other plans that you have for the organization going ahead?
Hoping to have a few more happy hours to get that connection reestablished between our law students and our active lawyers. Mm-hmm. And then beyond that, we also have our fall golfing event, as well as our annual holiday parties.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned that typically or generally people from the Filipino community go into medicine or in some areas in the medicine field. But you chose to go into law. Why is that?
Well, initially, when I was back in college, I thought I didn't want to go into medicine and didn't want to become a doctor because I didn't want to memorize a bunch of stuff, which ironically, if anyone that has experience with the law field, memorization is one of the things that we live by. So,
Yeah.
but obviously, as we talked about, going back to law school was a later in life decision. Obviously, one of the benefits of becoming a lawyer as compared to a doctor is it's 3 years of education. I was fortunate enough to do or be employed by McAndrews during part of that time. So the financial commitment when you can start making fairly decent money fairly early on is at least one major benefit to going into law as compared to medicine. And honestly, it's an interesting field. Keeps you on your toes, and not necessarily every day is the same. So
yeah. So, is there any interesting cases that you can tell us about that?
So the case that I'm currently, it's actually a series of cases that my firm's been working on, is Abbott Diabetes Care versus Dexcom, which deals with the glucose sensors that many diabetics use on a daily basis. And so I've gotten to go deep into looking at the source code of some of the devices and just getting to really understand the low-level detail of how these things work and understand how their device works as compared to how our patents, our clients' patents protect.
Oh, wow, that's great. So, growing up, any obstacles or anything that maybe kept you from pursuing a higher education?
In terms of pursuing a higher level of education, I honestly was very fortunate. Both my mother and father had their master's degrees. Some of the challenges I did face, though, like I said, I grew up on the north side of the city. The grade school I went to was actually fairly diverse and actually had, of the class of 35 or so that I graduated from, there were 4 of us Filipinos in it. But then as I went on through my education, high school, out in the suburbs, the level of diversity definitely was lower. And then similarly, when I finally got to the Naval Academy, they do put decent focus on diversity, but at the same time, nowhere near the same level of at least Asians in my class. And then back then, was there from 2001 to 2005. I don't think there was any discussion of potentially having Asian, let alone Filipino, organization for those students.
You were able to apply and get get in because, like you said, generally speaking, many Filipinos go into the medical field, but you decided to pursue education in the Naval Academy. Yeah. Can you tell some of our younger viewers maybe what does it take to get into the Naval Academy?
Yeah, getting into the Naval Academy it's basically a two-prong, or there's many differences between the Naval Academy and a normal college application. Obviously, they care about your academics fairly strongly, but you also have to complete a physical test to get in, and then the biggest thing that a normal college student doesn't have to deal with that the Naval Academy or any of the other service academies, you actually have to get a nomination from a congressperson, whether it's your local congressman or the I ended up getting my nomination from Senator Fitzgerald. So if I'd gone to my congressman, which I had started the process, it was actually Rod Blagojevich at the time. So, but his office was a few blocks from my house. So.
Yeah. Well, I remember reading a book. It actually, when young students start in the academy, by the time the first year is done, the number that started, it's not the same number when they finish the first year.
It used to be much more significant, but yeah, I started with a class of 1,200 or so, and then I graduated with a class of around 1,000. Part of that actually was going through some of my papers as I was cleaning up my house recently, and I saw a letter that I had written to my parents, and it reminded me of the fact that my roommate during they call it at the academy plebe summer, which is essentially our boot camp. Mm-hmm. My roommate that I started with left within the first 2 weeks just because of he just wasn't ready for the commitment and the stress that that boot camp period put us through.
Right. But I'm sure that there's a lot of benefits, right, and life benefits in terms of going through something like you did at the Naval Academy. Could you share that with some of our viewers who might be even thinking about that, right?
Yeah. No. Obviously, the first and most obvious benefit is most people, when they enter their undergrad, get ready to commit to however many potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars of loans. I went through my undergrad with actually getting a paycheck every month. Granted, my first year it was around $100 per month, but yeah, I got a mechanical engineering degree in 4 years at a very prestigious school with no debt and basically a guaranteed job afterwards. So that's the one benefit. Obviously, knowing what the Naval Academy is somewhat special in terms of the other service academies, because out of the Naval Academy you can serve on a ship or a submarine like I did. You can become a pilot. Obviously, Top Gun is about a naval aviator.
Right.
And then you can even go into the Marine Corps from the Naval Academy. So
now, do you have an opportunity to choose which way you go? I mean, like did you want to do submarines, or could you have gone on something else like an aircraft carrier or something like that?
Yeah. Obviously, it depends on what your class rank is one of the major factors, as well as it ultimately determine or the needs of the Navy. They like to put it. There's only so many spots for each position, but yeah, I had the opportunity. I strongly considered going into aviation, but ultimately decided, at least partially based on the commitment for being a pilot, ends up being around 10 years as compared to when I got out on submarines. I was able to get out after 5 years. So.
Okay. All right. And then you also, I know, have published, correct? Some law review articles, some journals as well.
So my final year of law school, part of the honors program that I was with, they encouraged us to work on a law review article, and I ended up getting it published at the University of Texas's IP law review. Okay. Regarding basically trademark related topic.
Okay. All right. And then for those of our viewers that may not be too familiar with the terms, what's the difference between a trademark and a copyright?
Okay. So basically in the intellectual property field, there's three main things. There's trademarks, there's patents, and there's copyrights. Trademarks are what, generally speaking, are referred to as source identifiers. So if you see the Nike swoosh on a shoe, it's showing that shoe was created by Nike, and so the customer can make certain assumptions about the quality of that shoe. Mm-hmm. Whereas a copyright protects something that's either written or recorded, either by sound or movies. Mm-hmm. And so that is protecting the creativity of the individual that actually wrote that work. Mm-hmm. And prevents other people from making direct copies of it, so like off of a photocopier. Sure. Or making a derivative work without providing the compensation for that use. Mm-hmm. And then the last one is obviously patents, which I spend a lot of time with, and that relates to they basically describe it as a deal between the patent owner and the inventor. The inventor has to disclose what the invention is, but because of that disclosure, if the patent office finds that it is a new invention, they get a monopoly essentially of that technology for a period of time.
And some of our viewers may know this or may not know this, but one of our presidents, Abraham Lincoln, he actually had a patent.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that. I don't remember what it's for, though.
People also have to be careful, because I believe there was a case, if you're familiar with this or not, there was a toy manufacturer that replicated the bottle, the Jack Daniel's bottle, and they were sued because it was very similar to, although it was a toy and it was kind of like a play off of the name and everything else, but it went to court. Yep. And the court found, against the toy manufacturer that they were infringing on the trademark.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and obviously Jack Daniel's has put in a certain amount of effort to get their name across, and the toy manufacturer was using that recognition for their own benefit. So that's on one of the borders of whether or not there's a defense for both copyrights and trademarks called fair use. But like you said, the court ultimately decided that no, that really isn't fair to Jack Daniels.
And I think one of the defenses was, well, we're actually, trying to flatter Jack Daniels because, we're just producing toys. We don't have no alcohol in this item. The installation, I have to say, that was a very nice installation that you had, and you honored one of your longstanding members, Winnie Coteras, so that was very nice, recognizing her for all her years of giving back and working with the association. Yeah. So, any other plans with regards to the summer for yourself and your family, or?
Actually, my fiance is in the process of moving in, so that's one of our big focuses right now. And then our wedding's later this year, so we're going to be having a engagement party shortly as well. So.
Well, congratulations. Congratulations. Well, it was definitely a pleasure having you, Alan, on the program. Much success and good luck in your role as president of FALA, the Filipino American Lawyers Association. And again, we want to thank you all for watching our program. My name is Jesse Reyes. I am the host of Profiles in the Law. And as I mentioned before, it's a series of conversations that we're going to have with prominent members in the legal community. And thank you for watching.